The Lorier Hydra II Limited Edition, a collaboration between the American watch brand Lorier and Worn & Wound, the watch blog and shop that any self-respecting watch fan follows, is here. And I tell you what, I have some things to say about it. I've long followed Lorier and been close to buying one, and maybe all of their models many times, but for some reason I never quite got there. I've followed Worn & Wound for an even longer period of time. It's one of my favorite watch blogs. So this collab is in theory a match made in heaven. And for once it's a limited model that's not priced out of reach. Obtaining one is a different story. I just got lucky and acted on an email confirming availability within minutes. I want to give absolute kudos to the stunning lifestyle product photography on the product landing page. It truly sells this special edition. It's always super hard to buy watches online, which is one of the reasons YouTube videos are so helpful. So the more photos, lighting and color combination you can see in advance, the easier it is to envisage that piece on your wrist. In contrast with that is some of the most OTT write-ups I've ever read. The watch is described, and I quote, as stripped down to celebrate the desire to go beyond the limits of human capability. And it goes further into self-parody territory. It is easy to criticize, and I do after all write this drivel that you're listening to now, so perhaps I should not be so quick to throw stones. Anyway, we're here to check out the watch, so let's get stuck in. If you like what I do, I'd really appreciate a like and a subscribe. Drop me a comment too if you feel like it. The dial is what I really fell for, and it's comfortably my favorite aspect of the watch. It's still and has a circular brush, taking inspiration from development of prototypes, that early unfinished look. It's very attractive. The Hydra was never my favorite model from Lorier, but it's interesting how much this dial changes the look overall. It's far more attractive in my opinion than the color dial, perhaps since the large minute markers and indices blend in so well. I've always found them a little too overbearing on the standard model. Every 5-minute white marker is loomed, which we'll check out a bit later, and the date wheel is well integrated at the 6th position. A great touch is a steel colored matched date wheel. It doesn't help with the legibility, but visually it's the perfect approach. The minimum print is commendable, only the water resistance and logo at 12. I've always found the Lorier logo and chevron very attractive. It nails that retro cool. Speaking of retro, there are some obvious inspirations here for the design of the hands. The minute hand reminds me of a dagger, and I'm sure it would actually cut me if I reached through that acrylic cover. The hour hand has a distinct triangle at the tip, which personally I've never really loved on the standard Hydra, but in this all-steel combination I'm really appreciating. The Hydra's internal bezel is inspired by a military spec design that can track both minutes elapsed and another time zone. The internal bezel designs predates the slightly more practical dive unidirectional bezels that eventually became the default standard for dive watches. Moving this bezel is achieved by using the top right crown. This does not screw in or lock in any way, and it's quite a spongy feel. The bezel glides with a little resistance both clockwise and anti-clockwise, and it tends to slip back half a minute or so when letting go. To me it feels too imprecise, but really all these internal bezel designs seem to be very similar and are probably inspired by the originals. It's not one that I play with much on the couch, to be honest, unlike most of my other watches that I slowly drive my family insane with, constantly fiddling with in the evenings. My favorite part of this bezel is the red mark at 12. It's a genius move on a dial totally removed of color, and I again get the prototype feel with a plain utilitarian red mark to quickly indicate where 0 or 12 is. Covering the dial is a domed acrylic piece. These are renowned to have a slightly warmer look than sapphire, and you also don't get that milky distortion on the curves of the dome that you get from sapphire. They do tend to scratch quite easily though, but you're well looked after here with Lorier supplying a tube of polywatch to fix any small scratches up easily. They also suffer far less from glare than Sapphire. Your Hydra is in good company here with the most authentic Omega Speedmaster using acrylic to protect the dial at approximately 15 times the price of this one. Both crowns are oversized large and easy to grip, and they inherit the crosshatch pattern from the original Hydra. I think dual crown watches do look unusual, and to the casual observer perhaps offers up a slightly techier look, since if you're uninitiated, you can't help but wonder what that second crown does. Moving on to the case, it's classic skin diver with its long and slender lugs. We're looking at a width of 39mm, height of only 10.5mm, lug to lug is 47mm, and the lug width is a standard 20mm. The lugs are drilled, so that in combination with the standard lug width will make this one an easy wash to swap out straps. That is a good thing, reasons which I will go into shortly. The back of the watch has a custom 10th anniversary logo and a limited edition print. But this is not numbered, so only Worn and Wound knows how many of these will be released. Behind the screw-in case is the Miyota 9015. It can be a bit noisy and wobbly, but it's also very thin, so the trade-off is worth it to me. I don't mind being reminded of the mechanics of the watch, and I much prefer a compact height. The earlier Lorier watches had Seiko NH movements that are thicker, and those watches were heftier. This is a better design, I think. So the Lorier bracelets are renowned to be excellent, and they screw-in all independent from each other links are brilliant at the price paid here. What's not so great are end links that to me are ill-fitting on one side and perfect on the other. It is one of those things that can get more annoying over time since it's clearly visible with the naked eye. There is some flex up and down on these, which seems to be the problem. Either way, I'm likely to put this on leather eventually anyway, so it's not a huge bother to me, but I wouldn't be doing you any favors if I didn't point this out. The 3 micro adjusts on the push button release in combination with the short links of the bracelet had me get a perfect fit immediately, so no worries there, and the chevron logo looks great on that polished buckle. The bracelet and buckle design is quite noisy overall. You'll hear it on your wrist all day long. So if that's the sort of thing that bothers you, be aware of that. I will note it does not bother me. The Lume is Super Luminova BGW9. It's not particularly strong, but it does look very nice at night when fully charged. So the Lorier Hydra II limited edition, it's not perfect, but I think the pros far outweigh the cons. I love the basic unfinished look of the dial, and I think the Hydra design is the perfect fit on a steel colored dial. I also think it's worth remembering here that this is a limited edition watch from a renowned watchmaker and an excellent industry blog at a very affordable US $550. That is excellent value for money, and the only issue really here is obtaining one. But if you can't get this exact edition, Lorier makes beautiful watches at affordable prices, and if you're just willing to wait, you'll be able to get one eventually. I think there is only really one way to finish this review, and that's with an obvious nod to pop culture. Hail Hydra! Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.